Hey guys, welcome back to our channel Glitched Velocity. I'm your host Wazahat, and today in this video, I'm gonna showcase my CopperCube game launcher that allows you to use extended API commands and comes with some bug fixes and upgraded features. So as you can see, I have already released it on 𝙎𝙪𝙧𝙘𝙝, so you can go ahead and search for CopperCube 6.7 launcher on 𝙎𝙪𝙧𝙘𝙝 and download it to your computer. I will also provide the link in the description down below. Once downloaded, you need to make sure that the game launcher resides in the same directory as of your CopperCube game, and your CopperCube game name should be game.exe. Otherwise, it will not launch the game. So in order to use this launcher, you need to make sure that it resides in the same directory as of your game and your game name is game.exe. As you can see on my desktop here, I have this launcher.exe, which is the game launcher, and I have this CopperCube project named game.ccb, and it will generate a game.exe file whenever I publish it. So just rename your CopperCube project to game.ccb and it will generate game.exe file, and make sure that they all resides in the same directory. And now let's just look at what are the upgrades and bug fixes in this game launcher. And you can see I have listed all the API commands and whatever this launcher has, features this launcher has in the 𝙎𝙪𝙧𝙘𝙝 page. So you can see all the API commands like ccb load model, ccb pack textures, ccb remove texture, and all the sound API and joystick API, vector methods, and all the different things. So you can see we have vector.clone method, vector cross method for vectors, and we have lerp and slurp. There are so many vector methods. You can use the dot product, cross product, and there are some universal attributes properties for the scene nodes, like you can get or set the ID of a scene node. You can also set gravity for every single scene node. So previously I was using an API command like ccb set scene node gravity, ccb get scene node gravity, and I have just removed that, and instead I added gravity as a universal attribute for every scene node. So you can simply change the gravity by using ccb set scene node property and ccb get scene node property. And now 2D overlays has text alpha. Previously only the background alpha can be changed. Now you can simply fade in or fade out your text as well. Then we have some bug fixes and other updates, like the system commands now return the command output as a JavaScript string. And this is a really awesome upgrade, I think, because it opens up so many possibilities for the CopperCube game engine. For example, you can create DLCs for your game. You can check for updates for your game. Like you can use the CURL or curl library to fetch a file from a website or on a remote server. It will directly give you the string instead of downloading it to the computer and then reading it. It will directly give you the string or the text as a JavaScript string, which you can compare with a variable and pop up a model or a window that will ask the user to upgrade the game or update the game. And the possibilities are so many. You can create multiplayer games with this command, and they might not be the massive multiplayer games, but you can simply create some basic multiplayer games or chat system, chat mechanism in your game, and so many other things. So the system command, and then we have bug fix for ccb change position without collision API. So right now, without this launcher or without this upgrade, when you use this ccb change position without collision command, when the physics simulation is turned on for your game, it will not work perfectly, or it will not position the object on the correct location. It will, if there is a collision in between the position which you want to change for your object, and let's say there is a wall in between, then your object won't be able to go through that wall correctly and change its position to the location that you provided. It will stuck somewhere in between. So now you can simply use this command with the physics simulation on and it will work perfectly fine. So there will be no bug or no issue like that, sticking between walls and all those stuff. And then we have another bug fix for the proximity behavior, which was not treating the node that is set as current node. And if you apply an action to that, then the action won't work for that node. So now it is also fixed for the proximity behaviors. You can simply supply the current node and attach action to it. It will work just fine. Then I have also fixed another bug for, clipping of FPS camera. So previously it was disabling, whenever you are disabling clipping for the children's of the FPS camera, it will only disable it for the top level children. It won't disable clipping for children's of children. And I'm going to show you what I mean in a moment. Then we have update to almost all the API commands that use scene node or camera nodes and all other nodes as an input. You can directly use the name. Instead of using the command ccb get scene node from name, you can simply use the name of the object or scene node directly whenever you want to change the property or whenever you want to get the property, like ccb set scene node property, and you simply use quotes and then provide the name of the scene node that you want to change the property of. Then we have rendering for the 2D overlays improved. Font rendering. Whenever you use some sort of fonts in CopperCube, there are chances that there will be some artifacts around the fonts. And it is not perfectly fixed for all the fonts, but the rendering has been improved for most of the fonts. It won't work for, free type fonts or italic fonts, but it will work perfectly fine with the regular fonts. And I'm going to show you all these things in a while. I will not be able to show you all the API commands in this video because there are some issues, and those issues are not related with this launcher itself, but like there is recording commands, and I'm also recording the video, so I don't know if my microphone will be able to record in two softwares at the same time. So I don't know if the recording, my audio will be recorded in the video or will it work in the game as well. So I don't know that. And then we have some joystick API, and right now I don't have any controller, so I can't show you the API commands, but they all work. I have provided a CCB file or shared a test version, test exe, in the MBR forums. So that these works perfectly fine for the controllers and joysticks. Then we have an update to the RTT command. Now you can exclude the nodes that you don't want to render to the texture. Like if you don't want to use 2D overlays to be rendered onto the texture, then you can simply create a folder and put all your 2D overlays into that folder and supply that folder node to the last parameter of this CCB render to texture command, and it won't render the nodes that will be in that folder. Then we have CCB get parent scene node. It will return the parent of the scene node. Then we have CCB get scene node gravity and CCB set scene node gravity. These commands are removed, so they don't work now. You can use the universal attribute to set the gravity and get the gravity for the scene node. So now you can use per object gravity, and I'm going to show the example as well. Then we have CCB load model. Then you can provide the path and the file name of the model, and you can load static models for now. There are some formats that this command supports, like you can load .obj, .csm, .bsp, .stl, and all these static model formats. Then we have CCB pack textures, and what it will do is it will merge two texture or combine two textures and give you the merged texture. You can save that texture to the computer as well using the CCB save texture command. And if you want, you can apply the texture to your scene nodes or materials. Then we have another cool, really awesome command here, CCB remove texture, and it is really helpful when you want to optimize or free some memory in your game. It will remove the textures completely from the game. So let's say if you want to reload a texture, right now when you try to load a texture which has been already loaded into the game, and if you change it in your external file, then if you try the command to load the texture again, it won't load the texture from the directory or from your computer again. It will simply go to the memory and show you the same texture that has been previously loaded. So you can use this command ccb remove texture, and it will remove the texture from the memory. And then if you use the ccb load texture command again, and then it will reload the texture from the disk or from the external file. So this is really helpful when you want to free a lot of memory, when you want to remove unused textures in your game. Then we have ccb set resolution, and then you can specify the X resolution and Y resolution. This will update the actual resolution of your window or of your screen. Then we have ccb set game resolution, and this is something different from setting the screen resolution. It will actually change the resolution of your game instead of the screen. Screen resolution is something else and game resolution is something else. You can only change the screen resolution to the resolution provided by your computer. Like if I go here to the display settings, then there are some resolutions defined by my display adapter. So I can use up to 1920 by 1080, and I can only use these resolution with the ccb set screen resolution command. If I will try to use something else, like if I try to use 900 by 700, then it won't work. You can only use the available resolution for your screen. So ccb set screen resolution command is different than ccb set game resolution command. For the game resolution, you can use whatever value you want for your game resolution to be. You can scale or upscale the game resolution to 4K, even if your screen resolution is 1920 by 1080. So that's it. And then we have ccb set collision, and this is really helpful when you want to update the collision during runtime. Right now, the collision ccb set scene node property collision don't work for the physics simulation and some other issues. You can't change the collision during runtime. So this allows you to change the collision during runtime. If your collision is turned off initially, you can turn it on. And if your collision is turned on initially, then you can turn it off and on during runtime. Then we have ccb make scene node jump, and this will allow you to make any scene node to be able to jump just like the FPS camera. So you need to make sure that there is a collide when moved behavior attached to that scene node, and you will be able to make it jump. You can specify the jump force that you want to make, how high you want to make it jump. Then we have ccb save sound file. Now you can save the sound file to your computer. Then we have some sound recording APIs like ccb start recording, ccb stop recording audio, then ccb save recorded audio to disk, ccb save recorded audio to memory, and ccb remove sound if you want to remove the sound files from your memory or your computer. Not from your computer, it actually removes the sound from the memory. So these are some sound recording API commands. Then we have sound playing commands. You can add the sound file with an alias, and this is really helpful when you want to play the same sound over and over again with different settings. For example, you have a sound file for a car engine, and you want that the same sound file will play with different effects for different cars. For example, you want to play this with reverb effect for a truck so that it will sound different from the original sound, and you want to play it with a different pitch for a small car, then you can use the same sound with a different alias and with a different effect or property. So it won't affect the original sound file, but you can use different multiple sound with the sound file and the alias name. Then we have ccb play sound. You can simply use this sound, and it is really game changing. I have created so many effects and so many API for the effects and properties for the sound system has been completely changed. That's all I want to say. So you can use this ccb play sound, then you can specify the sound file or the sound alias that you created, Then you can select if you want the sound to be repeated whenever you use the command again and again. Then you can specify if the sound you want to play is going to be a 3D sound or 2D sound. Then you can simply specify the sound property that you want to change or update. Then you can specify the property parameters. For example, you can use enable sound effect, you can use disable sound effect. Then each sound effect has its own properties and parameters as well. You can also change these parameters as well. And I have listed all the default values for the parameters. Like for if you're using the chorus command, then we have wet, dry mix, depth, feedback, frequency, sinus waveform, delay, phase, etc. And then I also provided some sample code for the sound usage API. Then we have some vector methods like dot product, cross product, clone, angle, maximum, minimum, distance, lerp, slurp, move towards, and multiply, divide, scale, reflect, magnitude, square. These are all same as the Unity vector methods. So I have tried to create all the same methods that Unity provides you for the vector methods. You can also use the shorthand functions for the vectors, dot back, dot down, forward, left, and all those stuff. So these are all the APIs. And there is a special variable that you can use for joystick. And I won't be able to show you this right now. Like hashtag joy button press dot button. It will give you the state of the button you are pressing for the joystick. You can specify hashtag joy button pressed dot button. So, button is going to be the value of the button. If your button is 14, then you can specify the 14 button and it will return if the 14th button is pressed or not. So if your button is 1, then you can specify 1 hashtag joy button press dot 1, and it will return if the button pressed 1 is true or false. This is really helpful when you want to do stuff in your joystick API commands. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And now let's just try the examples and uses. And I hope this whole API part or describing these API parts was not boring at all. Now you can, if you want, you can skip the video to this part as well. I will create a timestamp for this. So now you can see I have these files here. First one is game.ccb, which is a general CopperCube project, nothing fancy about it. Then we have game.exe file, and it is simply whatever the game.ccb publishes. And then we have the launcher.exe file. It is the main game launcher that we are going to use, and this is what the whole video is all about. And I have this sample sound file so that I can show you different sound effects and other sound properties, how to play the sound and those. And let me just open this game.ccb. As you can see, I have a sample scene here, and I also have these some sample commands already attached to the behaviors. For example, when a key is pressed, do something Q. We are executing a JavaScript and we are simply changing the collision of the cube mesh. So let me just start the application by pressing Ctrl F10. And right now you can see we have this window where we are trying to get past this cube, but there is collision. And if you want to turn off the collision, it won't turn off during runtime, but with the help of launcher, we can simply turn it off. So if I go here and use the launcher, and you can see right now we are standing on this cube mesh, bigger cube mesh. And if I press Q, then it should disable the collision for this cube mesh and our camera or the player should fall down. So if I press Q now, then you can see the collision has been disabled and our cube mesh is here. If I am jumping, it is not working. I can simply get past through the cube mesh. And I don't want to simply show you these things, but let me just create some of the commands for you. We have the last case Q, and let me just add another command here, like key pressed B. You might be wondering why I'm not using F, because F has been already used by this command here, behavior here, sorry. And then we are going to simply create an execute JavaScript command, or sorry, the action. It is not the command. I am getting confused between commands, behaviors, and actions. So just bear it. Don't mind my language. So then we have this, what should we use? CCB get parent scene node command. And what it will do is it will return the parent of any scene node. So we can simply paste it here. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to simply provide, cube mesh 2, and make sure that you use quotes whenever you are directly using the name of the scene node that you want to supply to the API command. If you are using CCB get scene node property, and if you want to use the name directly into this command, then you have to make sure that the name is inside the quotes. Otherwise it won't work. So it prevents us using the command CCB get scene node from name, and it will directly work with the CCB get parent scene node cube mesh 2. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna call it parent, and then we are going to print the name of the parent of this cube mesh 2 scene node. And right now there is no parent, or the parent is launcher demo. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna simply print CCB get scene node property, and we are going to get the property of name. So first we write parent here because we want to get the name of the parent node, and then we are going to write name here because we want to get the name of the parent. And let me just bracket here, and if I hit OK and OK again, and if I launch the application by pressing Ctrl F10, then I have to launch it with the launcher, and we have to wait. And if I press B, nothing is happening. I just forgot what key I have assigned to that. So yeah, it was B, and nothing was happening. It was printing nothing, and that's because it is not in the debug mode. And whenever you want to see the debug console in the launcher, what you have to do is simply create a shortcut of the launcher wherever you want, it doesn't matter, and simply, I'm going to rename it, but you have to go to its properties and add debug in the last of the target window. And what it will do is it will allow you to see the debug console in your game or in your launcher. So I'm gonna launch it, and if I press B now, it says CCB get scene node property is not defined, and I have made a mistake there, that scene is not written correctly. And let me just update it. And if I execute it again, if we launch the debug launcher and we press B now, it's still saying CCB get. Oh no, I made this mistake again. So it is pretty hard for me to write down the code and do the same thing again and again while recording the video, because my mind is completely on what I have to say. focusing on what I have to say or what I have to show you instead of typing. That's a problem for me. I know it's a weird problem, but I am like this. I can't do multiple things at the same time. So if I launch it and if I press B now, it says false because we don't have any parent node for our cube mesh. And if I make it simply the children of our camera one, then now it should print camera one in the debug console whenever we press B button. You can see it is printing camera one. And you might be wondering why our cube mesh was not visible, because we have made it a children of our camera and it automatically gets its position gets changed and its rotation gets changed when we are moving our FPS camera in the game. So if I make this inactive, then we will be able to see our and if I simply remove this collide when moved behavior from the FPS camera, so our cube mesh will remain in the same position. You can see if I press B now, it is printing camera one. And there is one thing that I want to show you about the upgrades or the bug fixes, like the bug fix for the disable clipping portion option of the FPS camera. What I'm going to do is I'm going to simply delete these and I'm going to add a new camera. And you need to make sure that it is an FPS camera, because only FPS camera has the option for disabling clipping for the children's. And let me just add this and go to its behavior. And we don't have any option here for disable clipping for the children. And that's because we don't have any children assigned to our camera scene node or our FPS camera. And let me just create the cube mesh again and make it children of our FPS camera. And now if I go to the behavior for our FPS camera, you will see this option disable clipping for child nodes or for children's. And it is turned on by default. But there is an issue with this option, that if I have children of children's, then it won't disable clipping for this cube mesh 3. It will only disable clipping for cube mesh 2. So it won't disable the clipping for cube mesh 3. And if you use the launcher, then it will also disable the clipping for this cube mesh 3 and cube mesh 2. So right now, without the launcher, it will only disable clipping for the top level children's, which means the children that are assigned to this camera one. And if there are children's for other children's, like if there is children for cube mesh 2, then it won't disable clipping for cube mesh 3. So it is also fixed. And then let me just show you some of the commands that I have already assigned to these behaviors. Like I have this huge commands. That's why I simply saved the template file, because I don't want to write all these stuff in the video and make the video long. So this is simply, it is nothing but it is simply the translated code from the Unity to CopperCube. If I go to, Unity vector methods, and you can see we have these properties or vector methods, like we have this move towards, we have rotate towards, and we have slurp unclamped. So let me just show you the slurp one. And here we have the sample code for the slurp, and I just translated this sample code to CopperCube compatible in my in my behaviors here. I don't know what was the sample code for the slurp. Maybe it is F. Let me just check it out. Huh. Yeah, so the slurp is for the F key. So you can see we have the center of the arc, because arc is for the spherically interpolating, any vector. So I have named them like the unity example. We have the center of the arc, we have sunrise, we have sunset. So I simply renamed the objects to similar to the unity code, so that if you compare both the examples, if you go and check the unity code for the vector methods, vector3.slurp, and for coppercube code for the vector methods slurp, then you can easily identify, or you can easily translate your code or your future code using the same method that I have used it here. So let me just simply show you what this command does. So if I go to the launcher, and as you can see right now, my cube mesh just fall down, this one. And if I press F, then you can see it started moving from one point to the another. So it will start from this cube mesh and spherically interpolate and move towards this cube mesh. If I press F again, you can see the cube mesh coming from that cube mesh to this cube mesh. And it works really great. So if you want to do some parabolic animation and something like that, you can easily do with these methods. So then we have an command attached to the G key, and it will simply showcase the switching of the game to the full screen. So we have CCB switch to full screen, and we are simply turning the game to the full screen, and then we are setting the resolution of the screen to 1024 and 768. And let me just show you that. And you might not be able to see the actual resolution change in the video, because it will change the screen resolution, and the screen recording software will be running in the same resolution as the changed resolution, so it won't be visibly showcased in this video, but actually it will change the whole screen resolution. So let me just simply showcase you. So if I press G, and for me, my window has been cropped and the game has been launched, and you can see the game here. And it's working perfectly fine, but the mouse cursor is pointed to the right of the screen, bottom right of the screen. So I'm not sure why it is pointed to the bottom right of the screen, and if maybe this is because of the pointer lock of the CCB switch to full screen option, because I am using the pointer lock. If I go here, then you can see we have this pointer lock option true. So the mouse was locked to the right of the screen, like here. So it will be much better if you centered the mouse to the screen resolution. And then let me just show you the game resolution as well. So let's just use CCB. Let me just copy it from here and paste it and change the screen to game. And what it will do is it will do the both things at once. It will also change the screen resolution. It will also change the game resolution as well. And whenever you are using this CCB set switch to full screen, and you are also using CCB set game resolution, then you have to run the CCB set game resolution command twice in order to make it work. And I'm not sure if it will work like that, but it should work. So let's just try it. We need to press G, and if I press G again, so it just resized my window, and you can see in the debugging console there is two different resolution. Previously it is showing 1920 by 1080, and now it is showing 1024 by 768. So you know that our actual screen resolution has been changed to 1024 by 768. So now if I press G again, it doesn't matter. Our game is running a perfectly in the 1024 by 768. And I can make it into one single command, but I don't know. I simply want you to provide independence of using this command as per your liking, so that you can have more control over the commands for the screen resolution. But making it into one control will be much easier to use this command. And it is much better to use it with the full screen, because for Windows screen, windowed game, it won't make much sense. You don't want to change the resolution for the Windows games. So yeah, and then we have another command, and I think it will move towards the command. I think it is also translated from the Unity command. I don't know. Maybe, yeah, it is the move towards command, and it will also swap the position of the cube mesh. And let me just show you something. If I go back to the Unity scripting manual, and we have this move towards command, and what it will do is it will, a cube can be moved around the world. It is kept inside one unit by one unit. And then we have a small long cylinder. Then it will be positioned and moved away from the cube mesh. I don't actually use the same, positions for the position and the unit for the cube mesh and the cylinder, but the code works the same as this Unity example. And what it will do is it will simply move a cube mesh towards the cylinder. And once the cube mesh reached towards the cylinder, it will change the position of the cylinder to somewhere else, and the cube will move towards the cylinder mesh again. And this process goes on, and creating a patrolling effect for the cube mesh. And let me just show you the example. So you can see we have this cylinder mesh here, and we have some cube mesh. And if I press H now, then you can see the cube mesh move towards this cylinder mesh. And there is an issue here, and that's because our cylinder mesh has this collide when moved behavior attached. I think this is what it is causing the cube cylinder mesh not to change its position. Because it should change the position to somewhere else, and the terrain is, let me just delete the terrain as well. And if I test the application now, and if I press H, now you can see our cube mesh is now patrolling from one portion to the another portion, and the cylinder mesh is changing automatically. So it is now like creating a patrol effect. So you can use these commands easily, and they work just fine. You can simply go to the Unity example codes and can translate these codes into CopperCube compatible code. And wherever you see these, multiplication with the scalar values, like speed into, let me just say we have some scalar values here. I don't know where it is, but we have to look for vector multiplication with the, scalar values. So here we have this like a target dot position multiplied by minus 1.0f. Then you don't have to use the same star or asterisk sign. Instead, you need to use target dot position dot multiply and then provide the scalar value like minus 1.0f. And if you go back to this command here, then you can see I have used this multiply command, target dot multiply minus 1.0. So instead of using the asterisk sign or division sign for adding or subtraction sign, you need to make sure that you are using the multiplication or the multiply or the dot divides command instead of asterisk or instead of symbol you have to provide the name. This is simple as that. And yeah, that's pretty much about these commands. And then I want to show you per object gravity. You might already noticed it. And let me just simply bring back our terrain. And you might already noticed that this, let me just attach the collide when moved behavior to this cylinder mesh as well. And let me just move it here as well. So you can see we have these 3 objects with collide when moved behavior attached, and they all are affected by gravity. But when we start the application, let me just press Ctrl F10, and you can see they all fall down at the same speed. But whenever we are launching our launcher, then you can see this middle cube mesh falls really slow, and this cylinder mesh is also a bit slow than this cube mesh. And that's because we have this before first drawing behavior with this command. And what we are doing here is we are changing the gravity, per object gravity for the cylinder and for the soldier. For the soldier, I'm using 0.2. And for the cylinder, I'm using 5. So what I can do is I can decrease the gravity for our cylinder as well. Let me just decrease it to something like 0.1 so that it will fall much slower than, or maybe 0.05 so that it will be much slower than the cube mesh. And as you can see, I'm directly using the name of the scene node instead of CCB get scene node from name and then providing that variable here. So you can simply use CCB set scene node property and provide the name of the scene node directly and change its attributes. And the gravity is the new attribute I have added. So you can use the CCB set scene node property, cylinder and gravity. And then we are simply going to hit OK. And by default, all the scene nodes have 10 as the gravity value. You can change these gravity value by going in the attribute section here. If Nico will add these in the final version of the editor. And now just test the application by pressing Ctrl F10 and then going back to our launcher. And now you can see our cylinder mesh is falling slowly. Then this cube mesh and then this cube mesh. This falls down really quick. And then this is at the speed of 0.2 and then this at the speed of 0.05. So this is for per object gravity. You can use per object gravity. You can also change the text alpha value. And what we are going to do is we are going to simply create a 2D overlay. And I'm also going to show you the fix that I have or the improved rendering of the text. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to type glitched here. And then I'm going to simply increase the size of the glitched to 48. Now you can see there is this little white artifacts below this I button or I font. Not the button, it is the character, I character. We have this little white artifact. And if I press Ctrl F10, it will show in the actual game as well. You can see below the I character, there is this white artifact, and let me just simply turn off the background. So you can see we have these artifacts with the you know Arial font. I didn't change anything. So if I launch it, you can see there is a dot right below the I character. And if I launch it with the launcher, then there is no, you know, artifact, and the text appears much better than this option. Let me just scale it up so that we can see the whole text. And if I press Ctrl F10, and if I use the launcher, then the glitched is looking perfectly clear, crisp, and it looks really beautiful. So text rendering or font rendering has been improved significantly for most of the fonts. It will work. But if you are going to use italic, then it won't work like this. If you use this, then you can see it messed up with the there is an artifact, there is an artifact here, there is an artifact here. And if we test it like this, but if we use this, then you can see or text is a bit cropped or character has been a bit cropped, but at least there is no artifact around them. So, and even if you don't use the, you know, italic font, but if you use fonts that has something like this, they are already in the italic format. Let me just use something else like this one. Even if you are using the regular font, and it will look messed up already in the editor and in the game as well. We are not able to see what has been written there. I have written the glitched, but it is not looking like it is written glitched there, but it will look much better with the font rendering, even though the font is cropped or the text is cropped, but at least we don't have the artifacts or it looks much better. So this will work for regular fonts, and I have planned a dedicated video for 2D overlays. So I will show you all the things on how to properly use a 2D overlay and how you can use them or utilize overlays that CopperCube provides you. So this will fix the text rendering issues as well. And then we have system command. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply open my GitHub account. Go to github.com. And as you know, we have this neophyte website here as 𝙎𝙪𝙧𝙘𝙪𝙗𝙚. And I believe we have some text file here as well, like robots.txt file. It has user agent bin, but we are not going to change it. Instead, we want to create a new file. And then we are going to simply put v1. So it is going to be version 1, or we are going to simply put 1 here. And then we are going to save it with the name version cc.txt. So we are going to create, and for test video, I never tested this, but it should work. So let me just see if it created this file in the directory. CC version history. No, I have so many files starting with this C, but I don't remember the name what I have given to that file actually. I don't know. Maybe I should skip this command. I'm not able to see the file that we have just created. I don't know. We can see we have it is not showing me any file. I don't know why that we have created. And it is still, I think, processing the commit. It will take a lot of time. Instead of using the file from my neophyte website, we can simply search for text file, or you know first we need to search for the curl command that you can use to grab the file. So you can Google the command on the internet, and let me just simply show you how to use curl command to download a file or to show the text, file. So how to capture curl output to a file? We are not going to capture the uh, uh, whole file system. Simply we want to grab the text. So how to fetch the text? Curl command to fetch the text file content. And here is using curl to view contents of a file. And we can see if we have some code, for example, curl http example.com file. And it is really simple. Don't have to worry. And it will show the content of the file in the description down below or in the command prompt. So you can simply use it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to looking for a text file .txt sample, and we don't want a large file with the text, bunch of text. We want a simple text file with nothing but just a number, and that's hard to find. So I'm gonna go back to my GitHub account to see if we have actually processed the file, or we are still waiting for the commit to get completed. There is no file that has been, is still processing. You can see some checks haven't been completed yet. And to be honest, it is hard to showcase this. And let me just simply try with the command that MBera forums provide us for getting the HTML HTTP command. TCB do HTTP request, and we can simply use this index.html. If I go to my behavior, attach is pressed to something, E, and execute the command. System, and we are going to assign it to a variable string equal to system, and then we are going to use curl curl, then the command, and let me just make sure that we are using the right command. We don't want to use the wrong command. If we go back here, and we need to make sure our the command prompt window will be shown, so I can simply put false here. I can simply use this without this optional parameter. I think it is an optional parameter, and we can simply print the string. But it is going to be a long text, so it is not going to print that. If I press E, then you can see it has printed something in the debug console, but we are not able to see it because it is very long file or very long text file. If we simply use command prompt cmd and launch the same command, then you can see it shows us these files or this string, and it's a very long text file. For example, there are so many lines, so it won't show the whole text in the debug console because it is very long. But what we can do is, in order to showcase that it is getting the variable string from the command prompt, what we can do is we can simply write PCB write file content. We can write the content this variable string holds to a file. It content string, and first we need to provide the file name. So let's say test.txt, and then we can simply write the content, and the content is string. So let's press Ctrl F10, and if I press E, it says there is an error. Error is the right file. I don't think there is an error here, but just launch it with the launcher. And if I press E, still saying there is an error, missing before statement. But I'm not sure what is the error here. Let's just look. All right. We didn't use the enter button, I think, and that was causing the error. And that's because this CopperCube internal editor is really messed up. I think it will work just fine. All right. So now the command is working, but CCB write file content is not defined. Not sure why it is saying this CCB write file content. So I have made a mistake here. We have to make sure that we are writing the content correctly. And as I said, whenever I'm recording the video, these are issues with me. I'm not able to create things properly. So it doesn't show any string in the debug console. But when we launch it, first let me show you this test.txt file. It says 0, which means it gave us an error. But if I launch it with the launcher and if I press E, then we have something in this test file. So it gives us the exact same code that our CMD prompt gave us as the string. And we didn't used anything but the variable string. So it directly fetched the file from the internet and simply put that content to the string variable, and we can compare it with whatever we want. So if the file contains only the text 1, then what we can do is we can simply use if string is less than, or you can say greater than our current version of the game. Let's say our current version is 1.0, and then we can simply hide or unhide an error. So what you can do is you can hide and unhide a 2D overlay that pops up and says that you can update your game. There is a new update available and all those stuff. So you can do that easily with this system command and the curl library that comes pre-installed in, I think, almost every Windows nowadays. So you can pretty easily use it. And uh, sorry for the inconvenience that the video became so long, but I want to showcase all the stuff. And sorry that I was not able to show you the exact command that I wanted to show you because of this processing time. It is not yet processed. So I can't show you the exact curl command to, pop up the 2D overlay that says your game version is this and this, and you need to update your, because it is harder for me to find a text file. I think I should have done that already before creating the video, but that's fine. I didn't realize it will take so much time to create a commit to my GitHub file or GitHub repository. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. And I have already showcased some of the examples, like the vector methods we use, like for slurping and for moving towards an object. And they also use these multiply and scale or dot or cross vectors in the code. If you go through the code, even if you go through the Unity code, you will see something like that, like target dot position by multiply. So we also utilize this uh, vector method for multiplying. So vector 1 dot multiply by the scalar value, you can use that. You can, I have also showcased all the stuff with the, you know collision. We have, I haven't shown you collision yet, right? I don't remember if I have shown you the collision yet because it's a really long video, so I don't know. So I have already showcased the game resolution, set screen resolution, and we have seen some per object gravity, and the video is becoming much lengthier. And in the final, the only thing that I think I have to show you is the sound effects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply copy this code here and remove some of these commands that we have added. Let me just first show you the collision command that we have. I think I have already showcased the collision command. Yeah, I think I have already showcased with the FPS camera. Sorry for having this short-term memory while recording videos, because it is not my actual job to record videos. I can't do multiple things at the same time, and it's very hard to keep up with the memory that I have shown you or not showed you. So we have this CCB add sound, and we are simply uh, setting an alias for a sound file by actually adding the sound file and then simply setting then an alias file. And I'm gonna rename it to 3.ogg because I have this 3.ogg file on my desktop, so I'm gonna use that to showcase the sound effects. Change here, and then we are playing a 2D sound. And before playing the sound, let me just turn this off, and we are then playing a sound 3D. Or let me just remove these so that it will be much easier for you guys to see the files. So what we are doing here is we are adding a sound file to our game named 3.ogg, and we are setting an alias for this sound file, which is a sound 2D. And then we are simply going to play that file. So, we have sound with effects here. We need to change it to sound 2D. Sound 2D is the alias name that we are adding for this 3.ogg. And then we are going to play it with the reverb sound effect. So we are enabling the sound effect reverb for this 3.ogg file. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a 3D scene node here, sound node here. And then I'm gonna attach the 3.ogg file and change the looping mode to nothing, because we also want to play the sound with B button or B key, so that you can compare the original sound which we play with the current sound playing or sound management system of the CopperCube game engine. And then we are going to simply play the sound 3.ogg, and we want to play it as 2D. And in our sound scripting API, we are playing it with the reverb effect so that you can compare both the audio files. So one with the reverb sound effect and the one with the original sound. If I press Ctrl F10 and if I press Q, it says CCB add sound is not defined, and it is perfectly fine. But if I press B, closed it. If I press B, and it plays the sound. And let me just turn off the audio and make it to headphones so that my microphone won't grab the audio that is coming from my speaker system. Actually, I'm using a Sony TV as a monitor, so it is coming from the TV. And then we are going to simply launch it from the launcher. So first, I'm going to play the sound, you can see the original sound, and then we are going to play the sound with the sound effects, reverb sound effect. So if I press B, it will be going to press play the original sound. And now if I press Q, then it is going to play it with the reverb sound effect applied to it. So let me just press Q. I hope the audio is getting captured. Let me just check here. So it is not recording my desktop audio. So let me just turn it on and launch the application again. If I press B,
the 𝙎𝙪𝙧𝙘𝙝 dialog system is going to be easy finally.
It is the original audio. And if I press Q,
the 𝙎𝙪𝙧𝙘𝙝 dialog system is going to be easy finally.
It is the audio with the sound effect, reverb sound effect. And you can change the sound effect. There are so many sound effects. Like you can change the sound effect to parametric equalizer, 𝙎-3𝙠𝙪2, gargle, flanger, echo, distortion, compressor, and chorus. And they all have these different properties as well. You can also change them or alter them according to yourself. Then we have some properties for the 3D sounds. You can also use 3D sound instead of 2D sounds. Then let me just show you distortion sound as well. So if I go back here and we go to our scripting API and change it from reverb to distortion. And right now we are using the default sound property, so we don't have to provide any of the properties. But if we want to change some of the properties, then you can simply change the properties parameter. Like you can add a comma and simply provide the properties, the values. And we are going to play it with the default value. We don't have any time to play all the properties because the video is already lengthy. And now, first we play the original audio by pressing B.
𝙎𝙪𝙧𝙘𝙪 dialogue system is going to be easy finally.
This is how the original audio plays. You don't have to specifically play the original audio. You can skip that part. I'm just playing it to show the differences between the original one and the one with the sound effect. So if I press Q,
𝙎𝙪𝙧𝙘𝙪 dialogue system is going to be easy finally.
so it is now a bit distorted.
𝙎𝙪𝙧𝙘𝙪 dialogue system is going to be easy finally.
And if I hold down the
𝙎𝙪𝙧𝙘 dialogue system is going to be easy finally. 𝙎𝙪𝙧𝙘 dialogue system is going to be easy
let me
finally.
just so if I hold down the key, it won't repeat or it won't play the sound again and again until the sound that is playing is completed. And that's because we have this option here. So we have this parameter here which says repeat, and it is going to be a boolean, true or false. And in our command we have set it to false. But if we turn it true, then if you hold down Q, it is going to play multiple instances of the same sound. And you don't want that. Most of the time you don't want that. It is okay when you are firing bullets and all those stuff, but in general you don't want to repeat the sound when you hold down any key or when you get in proximity with something. You don't want that the sound is playing indefinitely or like that. So you have this option. You can simply turn it off, set it to false, and it won't play the sound. You can simply change the sound to 3D, and now it will become a 3D sound. And by default 3D sound has one radius, so you have to update the radius of the sound as well. So I can simply go here and grab this code for changing the radius, and I go back here, and after playing the sound you can simply set it like this, change the radius to 100, and instead of sound 3D we are using the sound 2D alias because we have had the sound 2D as the alias for 3.ogg file. You can create multiple alias, it doesn't matter. You can create another alias for it like sound 3D, it doesn't matter. And we also want to change the position of our 3D sound to maybe somewhere here. But first let me just put it to the ground, and we are going to change the position to here. And then if I go to the code, because we want to play our 3D sound at this position, because 3D sound really needs a position. That's what it makes a 3D sound. And then I'm going to simply copy it from here. So once you have a sound playing, and then you can simply use the same command ccb play sound but with different properties, and it will update the properties of the playing sound. So we are first playing the sound with the distortion effect, and we want it to be uh, played at with the radius of 300. Then we want to play it at the position, and we want this position, which is same as of our cube mesh. And now the sound will play at this position, and instead of 100, let me just play it at 10 radius. So if I press Ctrl F10 and we use the launcher, and if I press Q, then it should play the sound.
This half my RPG dialogue system is
And
going to
it
be easy
says
finally.
wrong amount of parameter. Position can only have one parameter.
This half my RPG
But you
dialogue
can
system is
listen.
going to
If
be
I
easy
go
finally.
away, the sound is
This half my
padding.
RPG dialogue
So
system is going to be easy
it
finally.
is playing in 3D.
This half my RPG dialogue system is going to be easy finally. This half my RPG dialogue.
Before fixing the position issue, I also want to show you that how you can stop your game.exe to launch without the need of launcher. So right now that you can see, it is launching without our launcher. But how to prevent this from launching without the launcher? What you can do is you can simply go to your game, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna attach a new you can say in my before first drawing behavior, I'm gonna simply check for a condition if type of, and we are going to provide any function that our API commands has. For example, we have CCB set collision. So if we write CCB set collision here, and we are going to check if it is a function, simply write function. Then what I'm going to do is, so if it is a function, then I'm going to, hide or unhide an overlay that will say that, or we can set variable that will set that we have to run the game from the launcher itself. We can't play the game without launching it from the launcher. So you can simply do a lot of different things here. Like you can set the variable. You can if the variable is true, then simply run the game. If the variable is not true, then you are simply showing the pop-up overlay or error message that the user has to run the game with a launcher. So we can simply print instead of showcasing the uh, 2D overlay or popping up the 2D overlay. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna simply print the game needs to be launched with a launcher. The game needs to be run with the launcher, and we are going to print it. Else, I made a mistake. Let me just fix it, because we don't want to print anything if it is a function. We want to print only if it is not a function. So in our else command, I'm going to put this, and what it will do is, if the function ccb set collision is defined, then it will do nothing. It will simply run the game, or we can say we can print congrats the game launcher is running. Otherwise, it will simply give us this, the game needs to be run with the launcher. And now if I test the application, it is saying that I have a missing argument here. And as I said, I do a lot of mistakes while recording the video, and so if type of CCB set collision is equal to function, it is correct. Then we are going to print, congrats, the game launcher is running. It is also correct. Then we are simply running the else. Then we are printing. Where I forgot to put a quote here, and now it should just work fine. So yeah, in the debugging console, we have the game needs to be run with the launcher. But what happens when we run the game with the launcher? It says, congrats, the game launcher is running. So you can simply check if the launcher is running or not. And if the launcher is running, then simply switch to the scene where your game is, or allow the player to play the game. And if the game launcher is not running, you can simply make the player stick to the same scene where it says you need to run the game with the launcher. So you can do that. So if I run it from the game.exe file, it won't show anything in the debug console because we are not using the debug for this. So simply create shortcut for it as well. And I'm gonna add the debug command in the last so that we can see the debug console. So it says the game needs to be run with the launcher. So yeah, the game needs to be run with the launcher, and when you run it from the launcher, it says congrats, the game launcher is running. And that's it. And now let's get back to the position issue for our 3D sound. And we know that we have provided only one parameter to the position, and the sound is playing in 3D, but it is playing at a different position. So if I go back to our, code, and we need to make sure that we provide only a single parameter. So again, first let me just convert this into a vector. So I'm gonna create a new vector here. Variable pose is going to be a new vector 3D. Otherwise, I don't think it will work. So I'm gonna make this position as a vector 3D. And then we are simply going to use the pause value. And let me just this cube mesh value. And put it here. It was already using that cube mesh value. And now if I press Control F10 and launch or launcher, and if I press Q, it says invalid assignment left hand side. A mistake here. So we have used is equal to here, and we don't have to use anything for creating new vector. So I made these silly mistakes while recording videos because my mind doesn't work or focus at multiple things at the same time, because first of all, I'm recording the audio in the English language, which is not my native language. So my mind is thinking all the words and all from the dictionary. So what I have to speak and all. And then I'm also recording this video while writing the code and all those stuff. So I'm totally out of it. My brain is out of it. So if I press Q, then it should play the
There's a
sound
half my RPG dialogue system is going to be easy
at
finally.
the correct position. So you can see now it
There's a
is
half my
playing the
RPG
sound
dialogue
at
system
the
is going to be
position of the
easy
cube.
finally.
So the sound is playing now at the
There's a
position of
half
the
my
cube,
RPG dialogue
and the
system
sound
is
is
going to
in
be easy
3D.
finally.
So that's how we can play multiple sounds and with different effects. And now let's just change this and play the sound as 2D. And we want to play it with a different playback speed. So we have these, if we go here to our properties for the sound, then we have playback speed, pause, pan, volume, and all. I have already showcased you sound effects and changing the properties of updating the properties of a playing sound. Now we are also going to look at this playback speed because I think it is a really good addition of the sound playback property. So instead of enabling the sound effect, what we are going to use is playback speed. And we are simply providing a new value here. Let's say we want to play the sound at 0.5 speed, and it will also change the pitch of the sound. So let me just press Ctrl F10 and launch it with the launcher. If I press Q, then the sound will be played at very slow speed with a different pitch.
There's a half my RPG dialogue system is going to be easy finally.
As you have heard already, I believe uh, it is quite freaky. And yeah, that's how you can change the playback speed and the pitch of the sound. Let me just make it 1.5 so the sound will be like playing very fast, the different pitch. And now if I press Q,
There's a half my RPG dialogue system is going to be easy finally.
it looks pretty cool. So you can play with different playback speed for your sound, and you can apply different sound effects and many more. So this is really interesting. And then there are some more properties that I want to show you, but like text alpha. But I think I should reserve it for for the next video that I'm going to create on how to use 2D overlays, because I think I should create more videos tutorial for YouTube, and if I get good response, then I will continue creating video stuff or tutorials for CopperCube and other game engines as well. And yeah, that's pretty much about this game launcher. You can play with bunch of different sound APIs. You can play with controller script APIs, and we have the system command, updated system command. We have collision command, and you can also load model dynamically from the file system. You can use CCB load model file command, and you can also make any scene node jump. Let me just show you this command as well. So if I copy this, and let's say we want to make this scene node jump when we press space bar. So, or instead of this scene node, as we already have, let me just delete this overlay. As we already have collision or collide when moved behavior attached to this cube mesh, which is soldier, we can simply use that. So I'm gonna use behavior triggered by event when a key is pressed, and we want a space bar. So we have a space here, and we want to make our scene node jump. And I'm simply going to provide the node name here, which is soldier. And then we are going to provide the jump force, let's say 5, and then publish it, and then launch it with our launcher. It fall down, and as this scene node has a different gravity, we can have a really weird jump. So you can see we press spacebar, it goes up at really fast speed, but it falls down at really slow speed because we have different gravity for this C node, and it makes the jump much more, amazing. You can have a much greater falling speed than the jumping speed or going upward speed. So you can change it however you want. You can increase the jump force, and or maybe you can increase the gravity, perceived node gravity, whenever you jump. And yep. So it is also, having this double jump type features. I don't know why. Maybe because of the gravity, or I'm not sure, but at least we have this jump features. I think it is based on the gravity value. I could update it if it needs to be updated. I will play it with it a bit more, but for now you can use it however it is. And yeah, that's bring us to the end of this video, and this video is already pretty much lengthy, more than 1 hour and maybe 1.5 hours. So yep, that's all about this video. And I haven't showed so many API commands, and I leave it on that to you, but I tried to cover most of the commands. It is not possible for me to record that much lengthier video and show you each and every command, because there are so many commands like ccb load model, ccb pack texture, ccb remove texture. I haven't showed you these commands, and I haven't showed you any joystick commands API as well. So I have not shown you the ccb save sound file command and ccb start recording, stop recording audio, because I know that it won't work when I'm recording this or screen capturing this video for the YouTube. So my microphone won't work for two applications at the same time. It can either be used with CopperCube or either be used by this streaming software Streamlabs. So it is not possible for me to show you these commands for recording audio. You can try using these commands yourself, and you can also check them out by playing with them. But they are really awesome. If you are into JavaScripting, then you will get a lot of profit from these commands. And even if you don't want to code stuff, or even if you don't want to use the API, I recommend you to use the launcher because of these bug fixes. Like, you can also use the upgrades as well. So if you are dealing with the proximity behavior bug, then you can use this launcher and it will fix that. And if you are dealing with the clipping of children's children of children's of the FPS camera, then you can use this launcher, and you can use it for improved font rendering for your game. So that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the video and you found this launcher really helpful. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe to the channel. And I am planning to release tutorials more often, other than the things that I have created. But if you go through my YouTube channel, then you will find that I have these videos for the stuff that I have created for CopperCube, and there are no general tutorials. So I have decided to create more video tutorials, general tutorials which has nothing to do with my launchers and extensions. So I will create those videos for you so that you can understand how to use CopperCube as a game engine and how to properly use things in CopperCube. And most of the times when I go to the forums, there are so many repetitive questions, and I hope that I will cover all those repetitive issues that people face generally when using CopperCube and when they are new to the game engine, what issues they face and how to overcome those issues and what will be the workarounds for those. I will try to cover most of the issues, and I will also try to create short videos, and hopefully at least 2 or 3 videos in a month I will try to post. And if it get good response, I will keep them going on. So meet you in the next video. Till then, bye bye, hasta la vista, take care.